Jazzcast Pros.
Close your eyes and picture this for a moment. Imagine having a thriving career as a journalist. You are living your best life. And then you receive the unfortunate diagnosis of having multiple sclerosis. Would you know what questions to ask the medical professionals? Would you know how to advocate for yourself? Stay tuned as our special guest today takes us on a journey from her diagnosis to beating the odds and discovering a new passion. Welcome to Fearless Fridays with Maryann, the podcast to help you get unstuck, heal your inner child, and reshape your future. I am your host, Maryann Rivera-Dannert, and with over 10 years of experience as a coach, author, speaker, and owner of MRD Empowerment Solutions, I use my personal life experience with trauma, healing, and rediscovery as a catalyst for personal growth. My mission is to empower women like you to discover and unlock your full potential, paving the way to a life marked by freedom and balance. Together, we'll tackle the tough stuff and find the strength within to rise above. And today we have a remarkable story. So introduce yourself. Tell us your name and a little bit about yourself.
My name is Kim Rahir. I'm a German. I live in Spain. I have 3 kids, and I now work as a health coach for women, teach them to be strong. But I used to be a journalist, and it's only because I fell ill and had a quite surprising comeback that I decided to change my job, my calling, and to work and help other women also, get better and stronger and happier in their life.
What was it that occurred? What was the healing process like? And where are you today?
It started with the first very sudden episode. My kids were small. I was 45. I had a job looking after my family. And from one day to the next, I was literally struck down. So I started seeing double, which meant, it was not like a little niggle you feel somewhere and you ignore it. I was seeing double. So I knew there was something wrong with my brain. Went to the doctor. They sent me to the hospital. I spent 6 weeks in the hospital. They were trying to find out what was wrong with me. After 3 weeks, my legs were totally paralyzed. I couldn't wiggle a toe.
Wow.
It was really scary. And they decided when I had left the hospital, because they couldn't make up their mind what it was. I had so many different symptoms. But when I had left the hospital in a wheelchair, but feeling my legs again, like just a little bit, it came back very progressively. That was a one-off autoimmune thing that is called a syndrome Guillain-Barré. So it comes and it goes, and then you're done with it. So I got treatment for a year, and then they said, you're fine. It took me about 6 months to walk again, but I didn't have serious like damage or anything. My feet to this day feel a little bit weird, but that was it. Then after a year, I was given a bill of clean health, and they told me it was a one-off. And then a year later, my left hand went numb, went to the doctors again. And then that time they told me, this is different. This is autoimmune too, but this is an attack on the white matter in your nerve cells. And if it happens again, you're an MS patient.
Oh, wow.
So I hoped and prayed that I wouldn't come back. And after a year, I had a relapse. I could feel it. It was very mild. Not much was going on, but I did a yoga pose on the bedroom floor, and I felt a weird tingling in my spine, and I knew this was good. So, second relapse, I was declared officially an MS patient, and the doctor, he just, sat in front of me and said, okay, you've got a lifelong treatment. He was writing the prescription, wanted to hand me the paper, and I said, hey, hang on, what? Lifelong treatment? Can we talk about this? He was not used to this at all. But I made him explain everything. And I asked him, like the second relapse, it was so much milder. Am I maybe getting better? Do we not want to wait and see if maybe my body will sort of come back to normal and my immune system will sort of calm down? But he wouldn't have any of it. And from his perspective, of course, he wanted to protect me, from further relapses and maybe damages to my nervous system. Then I asked him if I could exercise, and he was very non-committal and said, yeah, okay, but be careful. He didn't really have that on his radar. But I wanted one thing after the hospital stay. I mean, it was brutal. I had been given a green light and was told I was healthy again. And then a year later, it came back. It was so dark and scary. And I just wanted to become physically strong. That was my instinct. I needed to really get a strong body, and especially after the time in the hospital. The hospital time was really very unpleasant. I couldn't move. I couldn't walk. I felt like a thing. You can't decide anything in a hospital. Not when you wake up. Not when you have a cup of coffee. Not when you go to sleep. And I couldn't walk. I couldn't even decide when I wanted to shower or when I wanted to go to the toilet. So
Right.
I had this drive. I wanted to become physically strong, and I needed to get to inject myself 3 times a week with the treatment that they prescribed. And I got a conversation with a nurse who showed me how to use this apparatus and how to inject myself. And she told me exercise was great for MS. She said it makes you fatigue resistant. And MS patients struggle with fatigue a lot. So
Yeah.
I thought, okay, that's my green light. So I armed myself with a book, one of the first books that said that women should lift heavy. And I went to the gym and started training. And I became stronger and stronger, and I got better and better. There were some reflexes that had suffered in the autoimmune attacks, and I had been told they would never come back, and they all came back over time. And with my checkups, so during my checkups, the neurologist would just say, wow, you're in great shape.
Wow.
Um, and we moved to another country, found a new neurologist. He prescribed the same treatment, but he saw how well I was doing. He was a bit different. He was only going by how I physically presented. And when after 3 years, I asked him if I could suspend the treatment for a 3-week holiday where I just didn't want to take the whole equipment and everything, he said, well, if you want to stop for good, that's fine with me.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
happy for you. I'm happy for you to try. And this is super conventional. Because usually with MS, you get this treatment. You're so afraid of relapses and damages to your system that you just keep on doing it. And that's what scared me so much.
Right.
But he said, no, you're doing so fine. I'm happy to give that a try. And if if you want to keep going, it's fine. But if you want to stop, I'll support you. And I said, hell yes, I want to stop. It's not pleasant to inject yourself 3 times a week. There's effects and everything. And he just saw how good, how well I was doing. And he said, we can try this. And this is now 6.5 years ago. And I haven't had a relapse or a treatment ever since. And I think that a big part of my healing is due to my strength training. I don't want to claim that, strength training can cure MS, not at all. But when you're physically strong, everything works better in your body and you become very confident and optimistic. And I think this mental health part played a big role in me better because this fear and the darkness that I experienced during the first episode, somehow I could rid of them by just feeling strong and optimistic.
In addition to the strength training, I think it was your mental awareness and your mental, strength training, because you were very confident. You were advocating for yourself. You didn't just,
Yes.
take the diagnosis and, walk out of the doctor's office filled with questions. You advocated for yourself and you asked the tough questions.
I think this is so crucial, and to many women now in my new profession, and I hear so many stories, and so many times women don't dare, or I don't know, maybe they're just not used to it, but they just don't ask all the questions. They have so many of them, and you can tell when you talk with them that they haven't really quite understood why they're given a certain treatment or what exactly is wrong with them or how the treatment is supposed to work. And and I think it's a bit in our culture that we don't ask or that don't question doctors. And
Yeah.
we really have to do this because they're human too. They are under a lot of pressure, time pressure and money pressure, and I don't know what pharmaceutical pressure, I suppose.
Right.
If we don't stand up for ourselves and ask them, please explain to me exactly what's going on so I can be part of the decision what's happening in my life, what I'm going to do with my health and my body, then nobody's going to stand up for us. So that's really very, very important to know that you have the right to ask those questions,
Right.
until the very end, until you have understood every last bit of it, because it's your life, your health, your body.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. So how was the transition from what you were doing before to what you're doing now? What was that like?
Well, I must say that I felt this kind of calling long before. I was always a bit into exercise and thought it would be great to sort of spread that beautiful message. But yeah, I was well established as a journalist, and it's a bit scary to take that plunge. And
Yeah.
after I had that discussion with my doctor, and he told me, I could, stop the treatment, and he was very confident that I was going to be fine. I just thought, this is such a big gift. That's a second chance, at life, at doing stuff that you want to do, at not having this illness looming, and make it worthwhile, make it really purposeful, and do something that can impact the world. And I felt I was onto something, because like strength training and building muscle for women to this day is still a bit outside the box. And I
Yeah.
thought that if I could just show what it has done for me, how it helped me, and how it can be actually really integrated into any woman's life. So you don't have to go to the gym, you don't have to pump iron for hours, but you will get so much out of it. So I studied for a personal trainer exam. I studied for an online trainer exam. Later on, I studied for a nutrition coaching exam. And then one day, I decided to drop the journalism. So I got a call from a TV station, and they said, would you be able to do this for us?" And I said, "No, thanks," which was a big thing. That was a big thing, because I used to work as a freelancer, and you always need new jobs. You're always happy when someone calls you with a job. And I was like, no,
Yeah.
I'm going to do something else. And I'd been working on this. And, then when you build a business as a health coach, it takes time, and you
Right.
start with friends and family, and then you can show that your stuff works, and it works from there. But the big moment for me was actually when I finally said, no, I'm not going to work as a journalist anymore. I was a bit disappointed with that profession, because information has become just a commodity. It's not
Yeah.
about, going out and finding the truth anymore. It's
Right.
just another product.
That's awesome. So who are your clients? Who do you work with? What's the process like? And what are the benefits of working with you?
So my typical client is a woman in her 50s who feels tired, lacks energy, feels the onset of age. Oftentimes, weight is sort of piling on in inexplicable ways, and she feels that she needs to do something different from all the diets she's done for a long time in her life. She needs to do something more foundational, more positive and constructive. So what we do is, we do an assessment to see where you are at physically, because that's a very big part that you have to consider when you want to exercise in midlife. You have to have a very good idea of where you are at, of your body status, because there's tons and tons of exercise programs out there, on YouTube. You can find them all free, and they're great stuff.
Right.
They're just not made for midlife women. If you have high mileage joints or some limitations, um, these programs might get you hurt or discouraged or frustrated. So we start with an assessment, look at exactly where you're at, what's your mobility, what's your strength, and then I design a workout program for you that will take you a total of 15 minutes a day. That's my big, big promise. With 15 minutes a day, within a very short time, you feel so much better, so much stronger. Your energy levels will go up. and you will really feel it inside your body, which is, and I think 15 minutes and something that you can do in the comfort of your home is important, because if it's too complicated, too big of an obstacle, just imagine you have to pack a gym bag and take your car, drive through traffic, find a parking spot, go to the changing room, get changed, walk onto the gym floor. There's just so much.
We're
If you're
not
not
doing
used
it.
to that, no, you're gonna give up with the first bad day that you have, and it's normal. It doesn't mean that that you're lazy or that you don't have any self-discipline. It's just totally normal. So I want to make like sort of entry level as easy as possible, and you can go very far with just working out at home. For a long time. You don't need equipment or anything. You can get stronger. It's functional movement. So it's not like 500 bicep curls like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but we do like movements we do in everyday life, pushing, pulling, lifting stuff, or picking stuff up from overhead, things like that. And then the second part is, we talk about eating and nutrition, but it's not a diet. We turn it all around and wonder, what do I want to eat to feel good? What do I want to eat for my body to perform? So it's more like a blueprint that we adapt also to the individual person, and just find out over time with testing and tweaking and adjusting what's just the best eating plan. And then you get a lot of support 24/7. But I use an app so that we really stay connected all the time. I think this connection is very important for midlife, because many of us feel like we've become irrelevant or invisible, and to have someone in your corner can sometimes really make the difference between a successful fitness journey and one where you feel just left alone and give up because it's too hard and too frustrating. And with that kind of approach, you can lose up to 15 pounds in 3 months, without going hungry or without doing hours of cardio. Just with this really, and that one thing that I really insist upon is a targeted approach. It must be really perfect for you, because we're not 20 anymore, so we need something that really takes into account our situation.
I love that. I love that. So for the woman that might be listening that feels that something is off, physically, as far as her health goes, who is in transition or is afraid of transition, especially as we get older, we're stuck in a career, we really have a passion for something else. What advice would you give to that individual in both scenarios?
Yes, I think I don't even know where to start. The most important thing for me is to really understand that there's nothing wrong with you as a person. If you're going through, difficult changes, you feel that everything is too hard, getting harder, or too much, it's exactly what you said. It's not just hormonal changes that occur, in your 40s and 50s. Our environment changes dramatically too. Our relationships get older, maybe a bit boring, or come to a turning point. Many women face divorce at exactly during that time, which is also a lot of upheaval and heartbreaking. Maybe you've been in the same job for a long time and getting a little bit tired, or maybe your job is very demanding and you're feeling that physically not able to keep up because of the changes in your body. Many women will start looking after their aging parents, and that in midlife, all of a sudden you feel yourself getting older, but your parents are old and they need you. So there's new responsibilities. So all these things come together, and I really want you to know that if you take all those into account, if you challenged, if you feel tired, if you feel like fearful or anxious of what's coming, it's totally normal. That's the first thing. Because all this guilt and shame that we always carry around these challenges, because we think that we're doing something wrong.
Right.
First of all, it's not true. And second, it's not helpful. So that's the first thing. And then the second really important advice, you want to start something, and you want to start small. So just do something that you feel is going to be helpful for you. don't plan a big upheaval of your entire life and you're going to change everything and you're going to become a different person. Take small steps. It's so much easier. It's so much more rewarding because you can actually go through with it and then feel good about yourself. And then it's by taking those small actions one time after the other, over and over again, that you actually become that different person. That woman who looks after herself and who knows how to take care of herself and do the right things for her health and for her strength and happiness. That's really crucial. There's nothing wrong with you, but do something and do something small right now.
You are on the Fearless Fridays podcast. How are you living a fearless life?
I just realized that the easiest way to be fearless is focus on the now. When I was ill and I was told I had MS, you don't have no idea where you go. You go blind. You could spend the rest of your life in a wheelchair. It could be anything. Right. And I realized that, looking too far into the future, that will just scare the living daylights out of you. I can be fearless by focusing on now, because the now is here. I know what it is and I know what I can do with it. I can do something here and now. And I try, not to look too much at the big picture. I know it sounds weird because everybody says you have to see the big picture and you have to put everything into perspective. But the easiest way to be fearless is actually to live in this very moment, because it's the moment it's the moment you have, and it's where you can actually do something. And doing something is also the best way to be fearless, instead of thinking, wondering, and anticipating.
What are you working on for the rest of 2024?
Well, my main goal for myself is to train for the European Championship in Masters weightlifting. And in September, there's going to be a World Championship in Finland. So I'm slowly working towards that. I have a coach who helps me, with the programming and everything, so that I'm in top shape when the time comes. That's my private project. And then in my professional life, I'm working on improving and expanding my Fabulous in 15 program and help as many women as possible who want to feel stronger, healthier, and happier.
I love that. Sounds awesome. So as we get ready to wrap up, can you let our audience know where they can connect with you and learn more about you?
Yes, you can go to my website, which is kimrahir.com. And on there, you can actually find a free health and strength assessment that you can take, to really find out what I mentioned before. You want to know where you are at, what your physical status is before you start, taking action and doing something. And it's a holistic question. So it's not only about strength and how many push-ups can you do. It's, try to paint a big picture of your health at this very point in time, and that way you can then know what your next best steps could be. That's on my website, kimrahir.com. And then you can follow me on Facebook with my name, Kim Rahir, where I share my weightlifting adventures and tips and tricks. Would be lovely to have you there.
Thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing your journey with us.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to leave a 5-star review and share with a friend or two. If you're not already following me on social media, come join the Fearless community at MRD Empowerment Solutions on Facebook and Instagram, or visit my website, MaryannRivera-Dannert.com. I'll catch you next week with a new episode. And remember that you are a priority and you matter.